I will officially welcome everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Sarah Hagee. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the Executive Director here with the Electrical Association of Philadelphia. And this afternoon, I'm joined by my colleague, Matt Divert, who's our Program Manager, and our presenters from HiReli, who we will introduce here momentarily. Just a few notes before we get started. You've probably noticed, but your mics and your cameras have been turned off. We are recording this webinar, and so that will eliminate interruptions. But you are welcome and encouraged to submit questions using the chat feature. Mike from HiReli is going to be monitoring that chat throughout the session, and we'll aim to get your questions answered real time. So I'm super excited to welcome back the team with HiReli. We ended our spring season with HiReli. We're kicking off our fall season with HiReli. So on behalf of the EAP, we want to thank HiReli for their generous sponsorship and continued support. I would like to now toss it over to Mike Smith. He's the Director of Sales and Service, and he's going to introduce the HiReli team here. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks, Sarah, and thanks EAP for sponsoring us and hosting us yet again. And good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining today's Trade Talk, sponsoring HiReli. With me, I have Alex Pierce, the Commercial Sales Manager with HiReli, and Manoj Bantu, the Commercial Support Manager of HiReli. And with that, Alex, take her away.
Perfect. So good afternoon, everybody. I want to kick it off with some exciting projects on the commercial side that we've recently been involved with. One of them, for anybody interested in Navy bases or anything on the port by the water, down in Virginia, we had a nice 0.8 switchgear lineup that met some stainless steel requirements and corrosion resistant paint. It was key to winning that job, and it's right in 0.8's wheelhouse. If you're interested in universities, Princeton University, we recently won a big grid automation project there, where we were able to actually do some value engineering, and as well as the spec relays offer some value add engineering, taking the spec 28 relays down to 12 GE relays. So exciting times out there, big projects, and we'll get into how we can help you out win some projects on your own. So HiReli and HiReli Supply, who are we? So HiReli was established around 20 years ago as a manufacturer's representative firm by Bill Krause. And we also have a value-added reseller division for electrical equipment for power systems. Who we represent: G&W Electric, GE Grid Automation, 0.8 Power, Magnetron Transformers, and ABB Power Conversion products. So for this presentation, we're going to focus on Magnetron Transformers, 0.8 Power, and the ABB Power Conversion products. So if there's anything right now that's a pain point, whether it's lead time, price, customization, special spec requirements for any of those three for ABB Power Conversion products, the metal enclosed switchgear or transformers, if you want, drop those into the Q&A chat box with Mike, and then when we get to the beginning of those sections, if anything in particular comes up, we can tailor our discussion towards what might be your pain points. So along with being a manufacturer's representative, we also have a value-added reseller division, and we can supply equipment like SCL relays, GE relays and controls, as well as GE instrument transformers. We recently picked up ABB PDUs, and then we also have ancillary training and services as well. What are we involved in at HiReli? So we're involved in bulk power, distribution, and protection systems. So that's everything from electric utilities, public power, electrical distributors, contractors, commercial and industrial customers, universities, facilities, engineering firms. We're here to support everybody. We have a large customer-facing technical sales team. So on staff, we do have 4 PEs. We have strong engineering support and management staff. We have a lot of electrical engineers, mechanical engineering, civil, industrial engineering. We got everything pretty much covered for you. So not only do we work as a supplier of equipment, but we can get involved with consulting, application support, training, and service as well. We can develop automation programs and recommended settings. John Liddy, who's on our team, has had 10 years with SCL and 10 years with GE, so he's well-versed in that. We can also do forensic reviews to identify corrective actions and risk mitigation. So a little bit more about us. On the right is one of our recent team meetings. We had a little more over half the team there. everybody with their smiling faces, eager to get out there in the field and help you guys out. On the left is our training trailer, our HiReli demo trailer. So this has reclosers, underground switchgear, current limiting protection, as well as some relays. And we're doing some updates on it right now. We're actually going to be able to run full automation schemes between switchgear and reclosers on the trailer. Currently lives in Westchester, Pennsylvania, moving to the Plymouth meeting area. But we're able to bring that out to you in the parking lot to get your hands on the equipment, answer questions, do training, whatever you need. So along with HiReli as the manufacturer's representative, we are HiReli Supply as well, which is the value-added reseller division, which was established in 2016. What's unique is being the WBENC certified, we can furnish both Tier 1 and Tier 2 WBE content. So Tier 1 being directly to the end user, and then Tier 2 being to a manufacturer, to a distributor. So if there's any distributors on right now and you don't have the ability to provide diversity content and you need support, we can certainly support you there with Tier 2. And with Tier 2, it doesn't matter how many channels it goes through, it doesn't get watered down. It still counts as Tier 2. It's just a percentage, that dollar value percentage on the total package. So definitely reach out if there's jobs that requirement and you need some diversity content, we can certainly help you out there. Here are some of our woman owners. So on the left, we have Dunya Krause, who's the president of HiReli Supply. And then to her right, Ellen Barag, our CEO. In the right picture is Dunya Krause again. And then to her right is Betsy Smith, our marketing manager. Out at shows, where we'd like to be and seeing everybody's smiling faces again. So we hope that we get back to that soon and get out there and can introduce ourselves in person and support you. With HiReli Supply, so we have consulting services, education, and training. So I mentioned earlier, coordination studies, power system studies, load studies, are some of those consulting services we can provide you, as well as education and training. From consulting standpoint, application standpoint, bringing the trailer out for demos, going out to any of the gear we provide and helping with support. A lot of us came from backgrounds in switchgear. A few of us came from G&W Electric and GE, as well as other metal enclosed manufacturers. So we do have a lot of experience there. So that's it for HiReli and HiReli Supply. Before I get into Magnetron Transformers, I'll check with Mike. Mike, did any specific questions come in revolving around Transformers?
Alex, there was not.
Okay, all right. Then we'll jump in then. So Magnetron is the old Westinghouse design, for those who may not know. So they're based in Columbia. They cover oil, gas, renewables, and utilities. And they have 2 factories with over 720 employees. They serve USA, Latin America, and the Middle East. And where they have a competitive advantage is flexibility, reliability, and service, as well as maintaining price and lead time. We've seen the commodities go up with copper and shipping difficulties, but we've been able to remain real competitive on both price and lead time. So they have a full transformer range that meets applicable ANSI standards, and their manufacturing capacity ranges from 208,000 to 306,000 kVA monthly. Getting to the types of transformers. So on the left, your pad mount. So those would be your standard and solar applications. There's a job that we supplied for Dickinson College up on the left for a pad mounted transformer at a solar application. Their wheelhouse is between 500 kVA and 10,000 kVA, and that's for both radial or loop feed. So anything that's an end destination at a facility or solar, or your loop feed if you're on a campus and you're looping in and out of transformers, they can provide both solutions. If you're going inside the fence at a substation, they have those as well. Same range, 500 kVA to 10,000 kVA is their wheelhouse. Submersible applications, 150 kVA to 2,500 kVA is the wheelhouse for submersible applications if you have to go underground. And then for phase shift and step up transformers, which is their oil and gas kind of pumping application, which I'll touch on in a few slides. They provide both those, 150 kVA to 1,500 kVA as well. So getting into the standard features and options. So for their pad mount transformers, your standard features are going to come with a mild steel tank and enclosure, aluminum windings, and mineral oil. And we have seen with the price of copper jumping, specs opening up more to allow for aluminum windings. So that's their standard, and it's obviously much more cost effective. So just keep that in mind. Options to go to the next level would be stainless steel tank and enclosure, going from aluminum to copper windings. And then if there's any sort of environmental requirements, they can do the vegetable oil instead of the mineral oil. And that's both for the pad mounted and outdoors substation, submersible, to your phase shift and your step up transformers. Getting into the dry type transformers, they have an F class and an H class. Your F class is cast resin, and then your H class is where your windings are open air. Same range, or actually I take that back. The dry type with cast resin F class goes from 500 kVA to 10,000 kVA for their wheelhouse, whereas the dry type open windings is 500 kVA to 2,500 kVA. Into the standard features and options. So standard features again, aluminum windings. For the F class, it's your encapsulated epoxy resin. Obviously with H class, it's open coil. Your option for the F class is you can go to your copper windings. And then your options for your H class is you can add a mild steel enclosure, you can add a stainless steel enclosure, or you can bump it up to copper windings. Magnetron also offers skids. So the actual picture on the left, where you can see the 3 different transformers, and then there's a top view on the right. And I alluded to this earlier. This gets involved in the oil and gas industry, where they're looking at pumping oil. So you usually will have your variable speed drive that's in charge of the amount of torque you need depending on the liquid. If it's more viscous or not, you have to change your speed to get your torque requirements met. And outside of that, you want to make sure that your incoming power to your motor is within the right range. So that's where your step up transformer comes on the backside of the VSD. And then for any harmonics or any power quality issues you might have, you have your phase shift transformer to clear that out. So while Magnetron can do the step up and the phase shift, they do not do the variable speed, but they can procure that, put all 3 onto a skid for you and ship it out to site where it'll be at above ground for oil pumping. Available lengths 6 and 7 meters, heights 2.3 to 2.5 meters, and then they do this up to 750 kVA rated. Okay, so with that, I'll pass it over to Manoj to get into 0.8 power for metal clad, metal enclosed switchgear. Manoj?
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, so were there any questions, Mike, on Magnetron?
There was not.
Okay, thank you. So I'll proceed with 0.8 power. This slide just gives you a little bit of an overview of their history. But Alex, if you can move to the next slide, I can discuss that a little bit further. So yeah, so they are part of the Regan family of companies with over 60 years of electrical experience providing complete client solutions. So what does that mean? Like they provide like complete solutions when it comes to switchgear applications and even the offshore, onshore buildings. So if you look at the facilities that they have, there are 2 facilities actually that are across the road from each other in the Belle Chase area, which is near New Orleans. It's in the New Orleans suburbs. Nice place to visit. And they encourage, the visiting of the plant and to check out their operations. So, they're a leading manufacturer of low voltage, medium voltage systems. And I say not switchgear only, but there are other products that are involved with their systems approach. And they're also the leading manufacturer of onshore, offshore buildings. So a lot to digest. I'll try to go through it as efficiently as possible. We can talk hours on their application and their products. But in the interest of time, we'll keep it as a brief overview. So the top building, the top picture shows a low voltage, medium voltage facility, and the bottom view shows the building facility where they do the offshore, onshore buildings. And as you can see in front of or behind that building, there's a waterway, which gives them the access to transportation. Or if you go the other way, you can go up the Mississippi River and access a lot of inland destinations using the waterway. On, you know, they ship these houses or buildings on a barge. More pictures to come later that shows, you know, the barge and how they load these buildings on to the barge. Okay, next slide, Alex. So they do have a very, you know, global presence in, you know, in their application, you know, in the marine markets, in the oil and gas and the energy. You know, when you're looking at marine, and they are the leader in the marine market, you know, in terms of U.S. Navy and the U.S. Coast Guard, for example. These entities have very stringent military specs, and Point 8 can really meet those specs and provide solutions for those types of applications. In the oil and gas, you know, there's, you know, the onshore, offshore being a big part of the oil and gas industry. They are very capable of providing offshore solutions. And in the general energy market, which include also the commercial applications and data centers as well. Next slide. Okay, so here's an impressive list of certifications, you know, with the third-party entities that actually provide the certifications. You can see it ranges from NEMA all the way to Lloyd's of London. So those are very impressive certifications. There are certain certifications that really differentiate Point 8 from the others, especially in the marine market. As you can see, there's like 67 UL 67 marine supplemental panel boards. There's also motor control centers, and the ABS and US Coast Guard, Lloyd's, for example. Those are all very unique to the marine world. And also a very important certification is the seismic compliant, which basically provides them the ability to supply or to meet the very stringent military specs in terms of the testing that they do on the boats with their gear in the boat or the ship itself, and, you know, with the seismic requirements. So very impressive list of certifications. Some of these certifications really differentiate Point 8 from the rest. One particular certification is the UL DLAH, which is unique to the metal-clad switchgear. Now, this is not a common certification for many manufacturers because it essentially allows Point 8 to put a UL label on a metal-clad switchgear. So a differentiating certification from the rest of the manufacturers. Yeah, next slide, Alex. So what is Point 8's capabilities? So as you can see on the slide, you know, it goes from design right up to field service capabilities, you know, including startup and commissioning. So essentially what Point 8 has is the resources to provide support to the entire project cycle. This means like they've got engineering right up to the startup and commissioning. Even field retrofits, you know, if you look at it, is something that may be existing, and they can actually retrofit other manufacturers' equipment with their own equipment and take it to startup and commissioning. An important point to note here is that they have project management. And to just elaborate on that a little bit, some of these building projects have very complex logistical challenges, right, in the shipping of these big buildings. And they have a dedicated project management team, not only for the gear itself, but also for the actual buildings. And they take care, or they manage the entire process till it's delivered to the customer, whether it's going on land, via truck, and taking care of all the necessary permits, and contacting local authorities to escort the transportation. They take care of all of that. So it's a complete solution for the customer, and that's what they are very good at doing, and that's what differentiates them from the rest. So we'll go over the bit of the products, right? So low voltage products, very common, UL listings. 891, 1558 is probably the most common. But just to give you a brief overview, they have products that go up to 10,000 amps continuous, and also 200 kA, interrupting. So, good range of products. The applications, basic distribution gear, outdoor gear, which becomes a bit of a specialty. There's also motor control panels. There's motor control centers, which they can integrate with their low voltage gear. So very wide range of applications that they can participate in, and they can customize their product, their basic 891, 1558, for example, into customized solutions for the customer. Now the pictures, the bluish looking picture on the left, or the first picture, shows a marine switchboard or switchgear, right? The way you recognize that is the handles. If it's on a boat or ship, they need those handles to hold on to if the seas are rough, I guess. And then there's the drip panel and that kind of thing. So that's a very unique marine application. The next picture shows a transition section, so showing their flexibility in transitioning to a different type of gear or different type of application, maybe like a motor control center. And then the last picture shows basically a typical a generator control. Could be on a boat, it could be on a ship, it could be on land. But essentially they use the same concept in designing the generator controls. But keep in mind, these are basic, simple applications. They are very open to more complex automation and control systems, which I'll discuss a little bit further in our upcoming slide. So medium voltage, goes up to 27 kV. They don't really have a 38 kV offering at this time, and a future slide will show that they are moving towards getting their own in-house design for that. Being an OEM, they can use just about any breaker, any manufacturer's breaker, to accomplish their UL ratings or the ANSI ratings. For 38 kV right now, it's more of a working with the manufacturer to do a abbreviated version of the gear, to meet the standards. But they are working towards 38 kV. But for right now, they got 27 kV for medium voltage, metal clad, metal enclosed, up to 4,000 amps and 63 kA interrupting. Here again, the picture on the first picture shows a medium voltage marine application of a metal clad gear, and it just shows you a too high configuration, meaning there's a second breaker above the first bottom breaker, so that's a too high construction. And again, there's metal enclosed options as well that basically indicates that they can customize their solutions to, for example, utility metering that is very specific to certain utilities, and the requirements. So as Alex has mentioned earlier, there's a project that we just embarked on that requires the 15 kV outdoor non-walk-in stainless steel switchgear. The specifications for the paint system has to meet the C57-12-29 standards. So what this means is that the facility has to be able to meet the standards in the paint system, and this was required by a naval facility out on the northeast coast. Very few manufacturers are able to meet this paint spec with stainless steel, leave alone providing stainless steel in itself. Other manufacturers have to basically send the gear out to get painted by a paint facility that is able to do the painting to the standard. Point 8 can take care of everything at one go at the same facility. So this is a huge advantage, and one of the main reasons we actually was successful with this project in the medium voltage metal clad world. So it's something we're really looking forward to, and we obviously will have more application pitches in future presentations, but we just embarked on this project, and one of the wins for Point 8 was the fact that they could meet the standards in regards to the paint system. So talking about automation, generator control, or paralleling gear, that's everyday process for Point 8 with standard paralleling gear. But when you get a little bit more complex automation and control requirements, Point 8 is there to evaluate the situation, and they are most likely able to provide a solution. You get the basic generator control or paralleling control systems using off-the-shelf basic controllers, but when it gets into PLC control or higher or more complex automation, Point 8 can certainly take that on as a project and provide you the complete solution. So these pictures just show you a typical piece of gear that has all the control systems in place. So let's talk about arc resistance, right? So Point 8 is very unique in the fact that they can provide solutions for arc resistance, low voltage and medium voltage. Low voltage, going up to 85 kA for 100 milliseconds, and medium voltage going up to 63 kA for 500 milliseconds. Obviously, it's a 15 kV. It's limited to 15 kV and 4,000 amps. The picture on the right shows they're able to do this in a 1 high configuration as well as a 2 high configuration. So 2 high actually allows you to reduce the footprint of the entire switchgear. So a great advantage as well when you are when you have space restrictions in your electrical room or building. So besides the product that they do manufacture, they have a a whole bunch of services that they offer, including technical troubleshooting, field service, and implementing PLCs in the field, startup assistance, like I mentioned before, commissioning startup, few modifications, the big things, upgrading existing switchgear, which means they not only upgrade their switchgear, their original switchgear, they can do other manufacturers' switchgear as well. So it's a big selling point for Point 8 when they're able to, engage in these kind of opportunities. And they also do offer training classes, etc. For startup and maintenance, etc. So aftermarket part sales. Obviously, they do support their own products, but they also will support other products, other manufacturers' products as well. And they'll be able to do the field service that goes along with the, with the repair service, or just routine spare parts, providing routine spare parts for the customer as well. Another important service that Point 8 offers is the power system studies. So, including arc flash and local requirements, etc. So if there's any opportunity, or if you're seeing any challenges with getting some power system studies done, please feel free to contact us, us, and we will take care of that as well. This is something that many manufacturing companies do not offer. So this is again another differentiator for Point 8 in the services that they can offer. So we'll move on to buildings, right? So there's basically two types of buildings that Point 8 basically manufactures. One is the offshore and the other one is the onshore. So obviously for the offshore, they use a different type of paint system on their buildings, and for the harsh environments. But it's mainly a chrome plate, or a panel type of integrated panel type of interlocking, panels on the buildings. The pictures here, it basically shows you the different types of buildings that they can do for offshore. The one you see on the top left corner is a 2-story, so as the one across the top, and so very flexible, all sizes and shapes of buildings that they can do to meet the customer's exact requirements for the different types of environments that the buildings are going to be in. The bottom picture shows the facility that they have across the road from the low voltage and medium voltage manufacturing facility. And it shows you how easy it is for them to get to the water transportation or transportation through a waterway, either up the Mississippi River to some inland location, or the other way to the ocean, which can go up, up along the northeast coast. So very easy access to the waterways, and I think that from a logistical point of view, it is a great advantage to be able to have this ability to transport these huge buildings, not via waterway as opposed to based on land. So lots of notes here on how they, the construction of the buildings occur. But just to, point out a few points here, the interlocking panels that I talked about earlier, everything is done right at that location. They obviously customize the building design to the customer's unique requirements. Basically, everything else besides the panels, the interlocking panels, are welded construction. And you can get the interlocking panels in, from galvanized, galvannealed, stainless steel to aluminum. So there are lots of options depending on the type of environment that you're looking at. And as I said before, you got the ability to ship via land or waterway, and they have the unique ability to ship the buildings as a complete unit or in splits, because sometimes transportation limitations will force the building to be split up and be able to be transported, meeting all the local requirements, etc. So when it comes to buildings and how their approach to buildings is it's multiple, right? It's multiple approaches they have. So ideally, they would like to provide a customer with a complete solution, meaning they will include all the products inside the building, right? They will integrate it, make sure everything is working, connected, and working properly. Or they can supply a partially filled building where customer may want to supply their own product and have it integrated when it reaches their site. Or they can provide basically an empty building. They don't care. They only want to do what the customer wants in terms of the solution they want to provide or the solution they're looking for. So it's good to know that they are flexible in that way so that they can provide the necessary solution for the customer. So these pictures that show typical construction. As we said, there's like a floor that is all welded construction in the first picture, and then they put up the interlocking panels, and then they start putting in the equipment. There's various ways to put in the equipment. They can have openings in the house to allow equipment to go in first, and then they can put on the doors, for example. And then the floors are, you have all the cutouts on the floor to bring in the cable from below. So it's all done in a very systematic way, again, to provide the best solution for the customer. The picture, sorry, Alex, the picture on the left bottom basically shows a wooded covering. Sometimes they would ship it like that, to the customer. The customer would insert their own equipment through that big opening. Again, very flexible in their approach and design. And then they'll ship the doors, obviously, with it as well. And the customer can put the doors on after all the equipment is in. So lots of flexibility with their design. These show onshore PCDs under construction. Again, you see them, inserting that to me looks like metal clad switchgear. There's also, control panels, maybe MCCs that go in there, just about any kind of equipment. So they have the way to be able to insert or integrate all the equipment at the one location. The bottom picture shows the doors, like it's a before and after picture of the first one that shows equipment being put in, and then the doors installed after the fact. It also shows an air conditioner on the side, so it's a complete solution. And then that picture that Alex is pointing out now is just it goes on a barge, transporting through the waterway. Okay, so Mike, has there been any questions on point 8? Okay.
No questions in the chat, Manoj.
Okay. Thank you, Matt.
Sorry, I'm having some Zoom issues. Yeah, no, I said you did such a great job. You answered them all.
Thank you, Mike. So, okay, so we'll move on to ABB Power Electronics, focusing on the power conversion products. So we speak of a e-house or a building. So this is a typical, e-house or building, and so where do the ABB product fit into this whole, scenario? And as I said before, Point 8 can provide all of this equipment, including the battery chargers. So where are the battery chargers? So the little red block that you see there, that's your battery chargers. So, basically, what's the function of these battery chargers? They provide the, the charge to the battery banks, right? Which these e-houses also have battery banks within the e-house, and that power, the DC load in the e-house or in the substation. So, wherever you need DC, these battery chargers should be able to provide the necessary DC power to stuff that requires DC, and for that. So ABB has a line of products, Interitas line of products that comes in basically 3 flavors, right? So you got the wall-mounted applications, which is shown in the first picture, typically used in utility substations, control e-houses like the e-house. Again, why would they use it on the e-house? Because it doesn't take up space on the floor, and you have limited space in the e-house, and you would probably use a wall-mounted unit in an e-house. The next one is the DC power systems, which obviously there's DC input and DC output for these. These are typically floor-mounted units, and again, larger utility substations and power generation facilities. That's where you'll see them. And then finally, you get the Infinity Industrial System, which is your rack-mounted applications, such as telecom and communication systems. So that's your applications for these types of products. Essentially, they all use the same technology in the way they operate, which I'll go through a little bit, but these basically use switch mode principle of rectifying, which gives the customer a higher efficiency between like 94 to 97%, all the way down to 10% of the load. So very efficient power battery charging systems. So we'll talk a little bit about the wall-mounted. It's offered in a modular design with a advanced controller with secure protocols. Obviously, there's single phase and three phase, single phase and three phase input AC, and it has specified outputs in DC. Important thing to note here is the footprint, very compact, very small, and again, it's because of the switch mode type of philosophy or design that it allows them to have a much smaller footprint. So the other one is the DC power systems, which has a DC input and a DC output. It all depends on what the customer requires. You can also have multiple DC inputs, like a 48 and a 125 DC input with a specified output. And again, here the dimensions, again, 24 by 26 by 84, very small footprint. And then lastly, the Infinity Industrial Systems, which are the rack mounted. Again, you have inputs 90 to 310 volts DC and outputs between 24 volts DC and 48 volts DC. So they're very highly configurable, and they also have the ability to go on racks, 19 to 23 inch racks, and can range from 3.5 inches to full 84 inches frame heights. So very flexible in, again, customizing it to what the customer requires in terms of what solutions they're looking for. So what are all the advantages of the ABB DC battery charging systems? Because of the switch mode, they offer very high efficiency, like I mentioned before. And secondly, because of the modular design, it allows for future growth of your system. And you can have multiple modules per unit. You can add in, if your requirements change, you can add in more units, to increase the capacity. Also, if you need redundant requirements, you can simply add on a redundant module, and you'll have like an N+1 redundancy. The other big factor is if a module needs to be upgraded or replaced, and you don't want to take the whole system down, it has the feature of being hot swappable, and you can swap out the module while the system is still online. The footprint reduction, I talked about the footprint reduction, great advantage there. Battery health system, again, this is something that is already built into the system. And, you can actually do a lot of remote battery testing, which I'll talk a little bit more about in the next slide, or the next two slides, I would say. So what's the advanced controller requirements, right, or features, right? So one of the big things is NERC requirements, NERC standards, ability to meet the NERC standards. There's a lot of fines involved if you do not meet the NERC standards. So the ABB's battery charging solutions give you an integrated, simple to operate, advanced monitoring and control system that can perform and log the NERC required tests and data points. The advanced control offers secure protocols like SNMP3, HTTPS, SSL, and SSH that allows you to fully comply with all the NERC requirements. Some of the standard battery management features include float boost, mode control, battery discharge testing, and slope thermal compensation. So the battery discharge testing is an important feature because you are able to do it locally at the control or do it remote. And this can save a lot of dollars, by doing it remote instead of sending field technicians out there to do the battery discharge testing. So it's a great feature of these chargers. I think that brings me to the end of the presentation. I think we got about 8 minutes before the hour.
Well done. Thank you guys very much. That was fascinating, even for someone who, like me, I'm constantly amazed at the energy industry and the complexities around it. And to see these big systems being moved via waterways is just mind blowing. So thank you for sharing that, even from the layperson here. I don't see any questions at this point. Are there any other key points that you all would like to just summarize as we conclude today?
No,
I would say just, you got our email address, you got our contacts. So just feel free, if there's any pain points like what Alex mentioned, feel free to contact us. You know, we are very open to looking at your pain point and trying to provide you a solution.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, everyone from the HiReli team, thank you all so much. To our attendees out there who I can't see, but I know that you're there, thank you so much for joining us. This will be available on EAP TV shortly, so if you'd like to share it with your staff and other colleagues, you're welcome to do so. Everyone, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.